Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. And this one is for Monday, April 29th, all the way through to Sunday, May 5th of 2019. And this week we have some more action with that conjunction between Saturn and Pluto in the South Node going on. We have Saturn stationing on Monday to go retrograde, where it'll remain retrograde for several months. But this is sort of a stronger energy of Saturn, especially for those who are going to be more predominantly affected. So those of you who have your sun, your moon, your rising sign, or any of your personal planets around that 20th degree in Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, or Libra. So any of the cardinal signs, you guys might be feeling this a little bit more so than other people. So I would say really anywhere from 17 to 23 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most, and it's going to be a very strong, very oppressive sort of energy, where when Saturn actually moves retrograde, the energy is a little bit more internalized. And so when we think about Saturn, we think about the physical limitations, the oppressive structures, the rules and regulations that are imposed on us from the outside, and how those dictate the way that we live our lives. When Saturn is retrograde, it's more about our internal structure. It's about boundaries and the boundaries that we set for ourselves, and reflecting and looking at whether or not those boundaries are appropriate. So are we holding ourselves to too restrictive of personal boundaries? Are we cutting people out of our lives? Are we not opening ourselves up to important new possibilities? Are we limiting ourselves based on our own self-limiting behaviors and beliefs, based on conditioning that we've sort of internalized and taken on throughout our lives? Are we taking on too much emotional or psychological responsibility for other people's problems and other people's stuff? And are we setting clear, appropriate boundaries in our own lives? Are you taking on what's really yours to take on? Or do you find yourself on the receiving end of people dumping all of their responsibilities, all of their stuff onto you, and then you just carry it, So this is a really good time to reflect on whether or not you're having appropriate boundaries in all areas of life, but especially in the areas that are being impacted, that have been impacted for several weeks now and are going to continue to be impacted by this Saturn Capricorn South Node conjunction for at least a couple more weeks here. So this is the final big activation for the month of April and May, but it's a strong one. Saturn is stationing to go retrograde in an exact conjunction with the South Node. And so this is about letting go of anything on an internal level that we're holding on to, especially from the past, especially as it relates to past situations and circumstances that we hold a lot of fear around. And those fears and anxieties around our past struggles, our past challenges in this lifetime or in previous lifetimes. It could be something subconscious. It could be something that you're not completely aware of how it came about or why you feel this way in the here and now. But whatever it is that comes up for you, it's showing you where you are setting limitations for yourself that are maybe too strict, based on fears and anxieties that are not relevant to the present moment. They might be based on past experience, past challenges that you've really struggled through, and maybe you're trying to help yourself by avoiding or preventing yourself from falling into that same trap or making those same mistakes. But if you learned your Saturn lessons and you really face those challenges head on, you're not going to be struggling with the same mistakes. And so this is a time to look at the internal structures that we create for ourselves. Are you putting yourself in a little tiny cage, a little tiny box, when really you should be giving yourself a big open field? Or are you giving yourself like this big open field and you're not giving yourself any actual real self-discipline, self-limitation, boundaries that help you to be responsible and to create things in physical reality? So this is a time to kind of look at all of that. The other really big thing that's happening this week is that we have a new moon in the sign of Taurus. And so this is actually going to be happening over the weekend on Saturday. And so this is a powerful new moon. It's at 14 degrees in the sign of Taurus. It's bringing, a lot of really good energy. It's in a wide trine actually with that Saturn configuration with the South Node. It's not exact, but it's, it's still part of it. So I do think that this is going to help us this Saturn stationary position is going to help us to prepare to clear out any internal blockages that are preventing us from creating better structures for ourselves, a better foundation for ourselves moving forward. And that's what Taurus is all about, right? So this is about new beginnings as it relates to physical, material, endeavors, as it relates to finance, as it relates to just starting something new that involves the sensory experience. And so this could be a great time to start a garden. This could be a great time to start spending more time in nature. This could be a great time to start something involving cooking or food, or something that helps you to feel very good, very comfortable, very cozy. This is a really great time to set intentions for physical self-care, especially as it relates to things like food, because Taurus has that association, and spending time in nature and taking care of the physical body. But in general, this is a time to set intentions for really solid foundations, for new beginnings, in a very physical, tangible way in the Taurus area of our lives, which we will be talking about as we go through this reading for all 12 signs. And before we get into that, I actually do want to pull up the image here. I always forget to pull up the image. I like to have it here so you guys can see it. So that's the new moon in the sign of Taurus. It's at 14 degrees. And so for anyone who has a lot of earth energy, so if you have your sun, your moon, your rising sign, anywhere near 14 degrees in the sign of Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, you're going to be experiencing this energy much more positively than other people. So you might be feeling that things are flowing really easily for you. If this is in a really nice trine with your sun, so let's say your sun is somewhere between, let's give it 3-degree orb again, so anywhere between 11 and 17 degrees in Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo, especially in Capricorn or Virgo, pretty much anything that you want to set intentions for involving your success, involving your soul's expression of purpose in the physical reality, and connecting with that in a more physical, tangible way, showing up in service, doing things that are real and tangible and physical. You're going to have the green light to do that, and it's going to flow a lot more easily for you than it normally would. And so, of course, we will get into this for all 12 signs as well. And before we do that, I do have a couple of quick announcements. I am doing my webinar in it's going to be like less than 2 weeks now, isn't it? Because today is Sunday, so less than 2 weeks from today, 13 days from today, I'm doing a webinar all about Saturn. It's called Mastering Saturn. We're going to get really deep into your own personal Saturn placements and how to work with that energy and work through the challenges, and to have successful experiences and more positive experiences in dealing with Saturn in your own birth chart. But we're also going to talk about the Saturn cycles and where you're at in the Saturn cycle. And even at any point in your life, you're going to be somewhere in the Saturn cycle. And so this is information that you can use for the rest of your lifetime to see where you're at and what you're dealing with, and how to deal with it most effectively. And we'll also get into Saturn transits to personal planets, especially, sun, moon, rising, all of that. So this is going to be a really in-depth webinar to help you to unlock the more positive energy of Saturn, I should say. It's still work and it's still challenging, but you can face those challenges in a way that's more appropriate, where you're learning self-discipline and you're learning how to work with the energy instead of against it. And so that's going to be on May 11th, and the link to register is down in the description below. It's 30% off up until the date of the webinar, and then it goes up in price. So register now if you want to attend. And the other thing I wanted to announce is that this is the last few days to get the Gemini solar return forecast for 25% off. I actually reduced the price of all of my solar return forecasts. So now the full forecasts for Aries and for Taurus are only $12.99. They were originally $15.99. And I'm doing the pre-orders for Gemini through Pisces for only $9.99. And I'm not going to keep this forever. So if you want to pre-order your forecast for your sign and get a discount, the link is down in the description below. And again, there's only a few days left. Gemini will be available for you guys to watch on May 1st. And I think that's pretty much all of my announcements for right now. So let's get into the forecast. All right, let's see here. So we'll start with Aries, and I am going to focus more so on the energy for the the new moon, because we've been talking a lot about this Saturn energy and this Pluto energy. It's kind of like a similar thing that's been going on already, where we're getting rid of this oppressive energy, we're getting rid of limitations and restrictions, and this time we're looking at self-imposed restrictions that we're releasing. So I will talk about this for all 12 signs very briefly, but I am going to focus more on the new moon energy, just because it's something a little different. You've heard me say similar things for the past several weeks because this activation has continued to go on. It's just been activated in slightly different ways. And so this is another, variation of a similar energy with that Saturn, South Node and Pluto. So if you haven't listened to my forecasts in the past few weeks, go back, and a lot of that's still going to be relevant. And of course, I'm going to touch on it, but I just want to let you guys know that. All right, and so for Aries and for Aries rising, so first and foremost, Saturn will be stationing in your 10th house. And so this is a time to look at and reflect on any self-imposed limitations that are related to your work and your success in your career. So maybe you're afraid to make that leap. Maybe you're afraid to push boundaries, to do something new, to create a new structure for yourself, or to let go of an old structure that's very oppressive and very weighty, and that is just not allowing you the freedom that you want in your career path. And so now is the time to reflect on where you're limiting yourself based on your past experiences, based on your fears and anxieties over challenges that have occurred in previous times, and to look at how you can release that energy and move forward in a more positive way to create new, better structures for yourself, so you're happier in your work and you don't feel so oppressed or limited or overworked or overburdened anymore. And then in terms of this, and especially for those who have your sun, moon rising in the sign of Aries, between 17 and 23 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really oppressive energy the most. But the oppressive energy is going to be coming more from an internal process than from the outside. So looking at how you are contributing to the oppressive structures in your life, how you are contributing to the limitations and restrictions that you feel like, maybe you feel like you can't do this, that, or the other thing, and maybe you're realizing now that it's because you've placed those boundaries and limitations on yourself. You're not allowing yourself to even consider the possibilities of, doing things in the way that you want to do them. And so looking at and reflecting on things like that, that's going to be very important, especially now, but really over the next few months. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, I go back, Aries still. Sorry, you guys, I'm a little off. I've had to take a couple of days off because I was a little under the weather and I'm still a little loopy. So for Taurus, I said it again, for Aries sun signs, the new moon in Taurus is happening in your second house, and the second house is the house of finance. And Taurus is a sign associated with material possessions and financial endeavors. And so now is a time to seed intentions for new beginnings as they relate to money, finance, property, material possessions. If you want to start a savings account, now would be a great time to do it. If you want to seed intentions to purchase something really important in the future and to save up for it, this is a great time. If you just want to create more financial stability for yourself by paying off debts or by working harder or by changing your job situation so you have a more steady income, now is a time when you can seed intentions for that. At the very least, this could be a really great time to spend some money on something that's really well made and that's going to be really long lasting, that's going to stand the test of time, because you'll benefit from that, for quite some time if that is something that you're thinking about doing and that you're able to do. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this Saturn stationary position is looking at your beliefs very literally. So we already talked about how this Saturn going retrograde is looking at how our beliefs, how our internal dialogue, how our past conditioning, how the past challenges and our fears based on past challenges and past experiences are limiting us from accomplishing what we want to accomplish in our lives. And so this for you is doubly true because this is in your ninth house of beliefs. And so this is looking at where maybe your religious upbringing or your deeply held values and belief systems are actually very limiting and very restricting. And so reflecting on that and reflecting on old fears, anxieties, challenges that have come up when it comes to higher educational pursuits, when it comes to travel and branching out and having adventures and experiencing life, anything that's holding you back internally, your internal dialogue around, maybe you feel afraid to travel, maybe you feel like you shouldn't do it, maybe you feel like you should be working instead of going back to school, and maybe now's the time to look at why you feel this way and why you're afraid to do what you want to do. And then for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, especially at near the 14th degree in the sign of Taurus. And so anywhere from 11 to 17 degrees, you'll be feeling this the most. This new moon is happening in your sign, and especially if this is if it's your sun, then this is your birthday, right? So if you have your birthday at the end of this week and into the weekend, happy birthday, Taurus. You're having a new moon for your solar return, which indicates a year of really incredible new beginnings in all areas of life. Last time I had a new moon for my solar return, everything changed. It was a big year, and it usually is for everyone when they have these new moon solar returns. And so if this is something you're interested in learning more about, I do have my solar return forecast for Taurus, that gives a really in-depth picture of what this new moon in your sign for your birthday really means for you, and beyond that. It's a 2 hour and 15-minute video, and it's on sale right now for only $12.99. You can get that down in the link in the description below. But for the rest of you, this is a new beginning in whatever area you want it to be, really. This is a new beginning as it relates to your self-image, your self-interest, the way that you express yourself out in the world, your personality, your persona, the way that you look. This would be a great new moon to seed intentions for a makeover, to get new clothing, to get rid of anything as it relates to your physical body that doesn't feel good to you anymore. This could be you wanting to upgrade your image, get a haircut, get some new makeup, get your nails done. If you're a man, this could be similar, right? You just maybe want to get a new wardrobe, pamper yourself a little bit. This is a time for you to seed intentions for really anything that favors your own self-interest and what you truly need, want, and desire in life. This is a time where you can seed intentions to get recognition in the future for an important idea or an important project or an important endeavor. But really, this is all about you. So whatever you want to seed intentions for, this is the time to do it, because this is going to be a favorable time. It doesn't mean that it all happens this month, but this is a time for new beginnings and seeding something, especially as it relates to material, physical growth. In your life, or your appearance and things like that. For Taurus risings, that could be part of it too, or seeding intentions for a new regimen for healing the body, right? So maybe your health hasn't been what you wanted it to be, and so you seed intentions to start working out or exercising or eating a cleaner diet or growing food in your own garden and eating that, or whatever it is. And so this could be a great time for that for Taurus. And for Gemini and Gemini rising, this Saturn energy is happening in your 8th house, and so this is looking at, especially in the 8th house, where your fears, anxieties, past traumas, past challenges, past wounds are disempowering you and preventing you from doing things that you want in your life. So you're imposing limitations on yourself based on past experience. So this is the time to reflect on that and to let go of those fears, those anxieties that don't serve you anymore, that are only limiting you and restricting you and preventing you from branching out and doing what you want to do, especially as it relates to finances, especially as it relates to material wealth, but really in all areas of life. Anything that's preventing your healing on a deeper level, this is the time to break free and move past it and move on and move into something new. For the new moon, this is happening in your 12th house, and so this is a time of deep introspection, a time to go inward, to really and truly look at what you value on a deep subconscious level. This is the time to seed intentions for any sort of new spiritual practice, for enhancing creativity. This is a great time to seed intentions for spending time away from the world, spending more time in reflection, taking a time out. This would be a great time to think about maybe seeding intentions for going on some sort of spiritual retreat or meditation retreat or something like that, or just to spend time in meditation, contemplation, reflection, especially this weekend as we come into this new moon. Doing something physical as it relates to a spiritual practice could be a really great way to use this energy too, or seeding intentions to create a situation where you're able to do that a lot more. I would say spending time alone, reflecting in nature would be the best way to use this energy, and you could get a lot of important information, downloads, or at the very least it can just help you to feel good and get away from the day-to-day grind and the day-to-day busyness of ordinary life. All right, and then for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this So Saturn is stationing in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. And so we've been talking about letting go of relationships that don't serve you, letting go of connections with people that are more trouble than they're worth, that feel really burdensome. Now is a time when you're going to start looking at where you are limiting yourself within your relationships. Maybe you feel like you're not good enough to have a really solid, stable, long-lasting partnership, or to have really close friendships. Maybe you block people out of your life because you place limitations on intimacy. And so looking at things like that, looking at fears and anxieties that come from past experiences in relationships and how they relate to your behaviors now, and how you can let go and release some of these old anxieties, these old patterns, these self-imposed limitations that you're putting on yourself in relationships. So that way, moving forward, you can have much better, more long-lasting, more intimate relationships moving forward. And then in terms of this new moon, this is happening in your 11th house. This is a great time to seed intentions for forming a group, forming an organization, taking on a leadership role in a group or organization, or just a very an excellent time to set intentions to get yourself out there, to network, to meet new people, to create more solid, stable, comfortable, long-lasting friendships with people. This would be a great time for Cancers to join some sort of like hiking or outdoors group or gardening club or something like that, because it's in Taurus. But really, it could be anything that really feels good to you. It's a good month to put yourself out there a little bit more and to meet new people and meet new friends and to seed intentions for that. All right, and for Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo rising, this is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health and daily routines. This is a time where it's important to reflect on. With Saturn stationing to go retrograde in your 6th house, it's an important time to reflect on where your fears and anxieties based on past experience are preventing you from creating good structures and healthy boundaries when it comes to your day-to-day routines, when it comes to your health routines, when it comes to your relationship with your coworkers, or when it comes to your work in general. Maybe you lost a job in the past, and so you don't allow yourself time off, or you don't allow yourself to turn your phone off when you're outside of work. You're constantly checking emails, and your routine for your work spills over into your personal life. Maybe you are very restrictive when it comes to your health regimens because of past, bad health experiences that sort of traumatized you and prevented you from being able to branch out and go out to eat or do the things that you really want to do in social situations because you have these very strict habits or regimens. So looking at where you're limiting yourself, or maybe you're very set in your ways when it comes to your exercise routines, and maybe there's something that's better for you that can be more fun for you that you're not allowing yourself to explore because of your fears and anxieties around branching out when it comes to your day-to-day habits. And so these are all things to look at for Leo and for Leo rising. In terms of the new moon, this is happening in your, this is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of work. And so this is a really great time to seed intentions when it comes to physical results that you can gain through your employment, through your work, through work-related projects and experiences. This is a great time to seed intentions to begin an important work-related project, or to set out to find a new job, or to find new clients, or to take on some sort of leadership role, or to get recognition in your work, especially recognition through material means, like through finance, right? Through a promotion, through a raise or something along those lines. And so now's the time when you can really work on getting some sort of physical results from the work that you're doing out in the world. And for Virgo and for Virgo rising, there you are. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, Saturn stationing to go retrograde in your 5th house, which is the house of children. It's the house of play. It's the house of fun and spontaneity. It's the house that you go for pleasure, for joy, for fun. And so this is a time to look at any limiting beliefs that are preventing you from experiencing joy, from experiencing romance, from engaging in the hobbies and activities and interests that you truly love to do because you're passionate about them, but you don't maybe allow yourself to do it because you're afraid. Maybe you're afraid that people will think that you're irresponsible. Maybe you're afraid that you won't won't be good at it, or maybe you just feel like you have too much work to do. This could also be you letting go of self-limiting beliefs as it relates to your children and the responsibilities that you hold for your children. Maybe you're a single mom or a single dad and you feel like you can't branch out and you can't do the things that you love to do because you have all this responsibility to your children. Or maybe you feel like you don't have time to play and you don't have time to go out and enjoy, spending time with them because you're working really hard. Now's the time to look at those beliefs and those patterns and whether or not they're true. And so to let that go, to release it, and to move forward in a way that allows you a better structure to enjoy yourself. That's really what that's about. And then in terms of the new moon, this is happening in your 9th house. This is a great time to seed physical intentions as it relates to 9th house themes like travel. So maybe you want to go to travel somewhere in Taurus, right? That's really beautiful. That's luxurious. That has beautiful natural surroundings. Now is a time where you can seed those travel plans. Maybe you want to go back and get a higher educational certification or something along those lines in some sort of field that involves design, or that involves you having to do something very physical or very tangible, or just in general if you want to seed an intention to go back and get some higher education, especially though as it relates to the body, health, food, the natural world, or something involving beauty and aesthetics. Now's the time when you can really do that, or to connect with a new teacher, especially in those areas. So now's the time also to seed intentions for adventure, for learning and growing through experience and through very physical, tangible experience, through experiencing things in a very sensory way. All right, and then for Libra and for Libra rising. So this Saturn station here is happening in your 4th house of the home and family. And so this is a time where maybe it's important to look at where you're limiting yourself in that realm. So maybe you have some self-limiting beliefs or fears around buying a home or owning property. Maybe you saw in the past an experience where your family or a family member or a close friend lost their property, maybe during the housing crisis or something like that. And so you're afraid of jumping in and doing something to create more stability when it comes to your home and property due to being a part of that experience, or maybe you've experienced that yourself in the past and you're afraid to jump back in. This could also be releasing any self-limiting behaviors, patterns, thought processes involving your relationship with your family members. Maybe you don't have good boundaries with your family and maybe you're taking on too much responsibility for their stuff, or maybe your boundaries are too tight and you're not letting them in and you're not willing to accept your family members or open up to them in any sort of way because you're afraid of being judged or ostracized. And so these are all different things that you can look at, especially if they're related to past experiences that you're carrying fears from in the present. And especially for those who have their Libra rising around that 20th degree, so anywhere from 17 to 23 degrees, you're going to be feeling the burden of restriction and limitation on a more personal scale. You might have a lot of self-limiting beliefs about yourself and what you're capable of that might be coming up for you right now. You might have a lot of limiting beliefs and old conditioning and old patterns related to relationships, where maybe you don't feel like you're good enough, or that you don't feel like you're suitable for a long-term committed partnership, and you're limiting yourself in that way. And so these are all things to look at as well. In terms of the new moon, this new moon is actually happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt, other people's money, money that you get through inheritance, through investment. And so this is a time to look at maybe seeding intentions to invest your resources. This is a time where a partner might end up getting some sort of new financial windfall or financial situation that comes in and changes things for you in terms of joint finances through marriage. This is a time to seed intentions as it relates to things like taxes and inheritance. So, maybe seeding intentions to save a little bit of money if you owe taxes, so that way next year you don't have to, pay interest on it or something like that. This could be a time to seed intentions for paying off debts. This could be a time for seeding intentions involving getting your estate in order, as dark as that can be for some people, making sure that your resources are taken care of beyond this lifetime. This is also a time to seed intentions for anything that involves really intense research, anything that involves really deep healing on an emotional, psychological, spiritual level. This is a very deeply regenerative, deeply empowering transit where you can seed intentions to face your fears and to move forward with greater empowerment. And then for Scorpio rising. Let's go up here. For Scorpio rising, Saturn is stationing in your third house. The third house is the house of communication, but it's also the house of thoughts and ideas. And so for you, this is looking at where you internalize negative thought patterns, negative ideas, negative beliefs that restrict you from speaking your mind, any fears and anxieties from the past that surround speaking your mind or speaking up or standing up for yourself, in a verbal way. These can be brought up to the surface. Any self-limiting beliefs or behaviors that prevent you from connecting with your community, that's something to really reflect on and look at and to release. Any self-limiting patterns or behaviors or beliefs around short distance travel or vehicles, that could be something too. If you carry fears around travel or driving or something like that, that could be coming up for you right now. If you have fears around paperwork, bureaucracy, that type of thing where you're limiting yourself because you don't want to do it, now's the time when you can look at that and whether or not that really serves you. And really anything that, in any way that you limit yourself based on past experience or past fears in your relationship with your siblings or extended family members or your peers, this could be something to really look at, so that way you can release these fears and branch out and have better communication with these types of people moving forward. But this is especially you looking at negative patterns of speech, negative patterns of thoughts and thinking that prevent you and that restrict you and limit you in any sort of way. And then in terms of the new beginnings, this is happening in your 7th house. The 7th house is the house of relationship. And so now is a time to seed intentions for new beginnings in important relationships. This could be you seeding an intention to sign an important contract and to partner up with somebody for business. This could be you seeding intentions to create and develop new close friendships and close relationships with people around you. And this could be you seeding intentions to get a new relationship, right? Find a really long-lasting, stable partnership. And so that could be part of this as well, especially if you're a Scorpio rising around 14 degrees, so anywhere from 11 to 17 degrees, this is really going to be happening on your descendant. And so this is a really powerful new beginning when it comes to relationships. And this could be you just wanting to revitalize your current relationship, to have a fresh start, to bring a fresh burst of energy and passion and excitement into your relationship again, or to restabilize the relationship after a period of chaos and disruption, if that's applicable to you. But this is a time to form close bonds and to set intentions for that. And then for, where are you? Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. This Saturn stationary position is bringing up any self-limiting patterns or beliefs as they relate to your ability to create finances for yourself, as they relate to money and money struggles. Maybe you feel like because you're in so much debt, you can't do the things that you want to do, or you can't take that job because it doesn't pay enough, or you can't start that business because you have all of these responsibilities and limitations that you have placed on yourself based on your own past experience. Maybe you were in debt before and you don't want to do that again. But you really want to start a new business, or you really want to do something different when it comes to your finances, or you really want to invest your money into like buying property or doing something that is really stabilizing and long lasting, and that is setting up a really good foundation for yourself for the future, but you're afraid to make that leap based on your own past experiences with money and the challenges that have arisen in that area of your life. And so now's the time to look at those patterns and whether or not they're still serving you, whether or not those fears are serving to protect you, or if they're limiting you and preventing you from actually doing what you want to do. The other energy that's happening is a new moon in your 6th house, which is the house of work and daily routines. And this camera, you guys, I am not happy with this camera. It's a Logitech camera, and it was supposed to be really good. It got really good reviews, but I can't figure out, there's no way to manually fix any of this. And every time the lighting changes because of the windows, everything gets really bright. And somebody said it was because of my makeup. It's literally just this camera that does this. So I don't think that's accurate. But anyway, sorry, I'm off topic here. So the new moon is happening in your 6th house. You don't care about my lighting. You care about your new moon. So this is seeding new intentions for new beginnings as it relates to your daily routines, your health habits, your nutritional habits, your day-to-day experience. This could be you seeding intentions for a new beginning as it relates to your work or a work-related project. This could be you starting over when it comes to your coworkers, or starting a new job, or starting a new routine within your current job. That changes things for you and makes things more stable, more grounded, where it feels a little bit better for you, so you can get a sense of greater stability when it comes to your daily habits, your daily routines, especially as it relates to your work. This could be setting an intention for new beginnings with your coworkers or people that you relate to in your work. And this would be a really great time for you to seed intentions for better health. So if there's anything that you've been thinking about doing, especially on a physical level, involving nutrition, involving getting out there, especially exploring the outdoors, or exercising, doing something very physical, now's the time that you can do that, or incorporating spending more time in nature into your daily routines. That could be something that you could seed intentions for as well. And then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. For Capricorn rising, this is Saturn's going to be stationing in your sign. And so, especially if you are a Capricorn with your sun, moon rising between 17 and 23 degrees, now's a time when you might be feeling like the burden of limitation and restrictions from your past, right? So self-imposed limitations, self-imposed boundaries that you're placing on yourself that are not necessarily conducive to what you want to accomplish in your lifetime. Looking at if you're not having good boundaries in your relationships and how that's impacting you. Looking at if your boundaries are too limiting and restrictive in your relationships and how that's impacting your ability to connect with the right people or to branch out and do what you want to do in life. But this is really going to be a heavy energy where you're going to be looking at any negative core beliefs that are not necessarily serving you in the present moment, as they relate to your own self-image, your own ability to create what you want to create in life, your own self-interest, your body, your appearance. That could be part of it too. You could be feeling more negatively about the way that you look or the way that you come across to others, and maybe that's not actually serving you. Maybe you feel like people are not responding to you because of the way that you dress, or the way that you look, or the way that you speak, or something along those lines, or the way that you present yourself. And maybe it's because you're being shy and not branching out there, right? Because you're afraid of other people's responses or their opinions about you. And so looking at anything that involves like negative limiting belief systems, boundaries that are either too strict or too open in your personal life, that's going to be a really important thing to pay attention to right now. And then in terms of the new moon, this is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of fun. It's the house of play. It's the house of love and romance and children and all of these fun things. And so if you are a Capricorn rising, especially, or even a sun sign around that 14th degree, so anywhere from 11 to 17 degrees, you're going to be feeling this very positively. This is not only a positive new beginning as it relates to doing things that are fun, that are joyful, that you find pleasurable in your life. This could be a new beginning in romance. This could bring a new romance. This could be you reigniting passion and romance in your current relationship. This could be you setting intentions to spend more time with your children. This could be you setting intentions to spend more time just doing things that you enjoy doing. And if that's the case, this is going to benefit you very positively in terms of integrating your passions and the things that you love into your personality and what you project outwardly. And this is a time that anything that you really seed intentions for, if you're between, again, that 11 and 17 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, anything that you seed intentions for, it's going to work out more positively for you. So now's the time to seed intentions that really favor your own self-interest, or intentions for a relationship, because that could be very important as well. All right, and then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, there you are. So for Saturn stationing, this is stationing in your 12th house, and this is looking at any subconscious patterns of belief, any subconscious fears, anxieties that are preventing you from moving forward in a more positive way, any old conditioning, old behavioral patterns that are ingrained in your self-conscious or subconscious that are not serving you moving forward. Now's the time to really reflect, go inward. This is going to be a major time of purging any subconscious energies, any energies from the past, and especially from past life experiences that are really having you, that are causing you to act from a place of fear, or to present yourself in a way that is not authentic to you, because Saturn's going to be coming over your ascendant sometime in the next couple of years. And so you're going through a major clearing of past conditioning and past experience that's preventing you from being you truly and fully right now. And then in terms of the new moon, this is happening in your 4th house. And so this is a great time to seed intentions for making new connections with family members, moving, renovating your home, redecorating, planting a garden because it's in Taurus, spending more quality time at home with your family in rest and reprieve. Now's the time to look at take a good hard look at what it is that you want to come home to after work. So it's a good time to get your house in order, get your ducks in a row, and in that realm. And so this is a great time to seed intentions for anything involving home, family, or property for Aquarius rising. And then finally, Pisces. For Pisces and for Pisces rising, Saturn is stationing in your 11th house. And so now is a time to look at where your fears around what other people think, around what your peers think, around, anything involving social situations and social connections, any fears that you're holding on to that are causing you to limit yourself in any way, these are going to be coming up for you right now. And now's a really great time to reflect on that. So where are you placing too strict of a hold on yourself? Where are you limiting yourself or restricting yourself when it comes to making really good connections with groups of people, or networking, or joining that group or club or organization, or founding that group or club or organization? Do you feel like you can't do it because in the past you were ostracized by your peers, or people, made fun of your ideas or something along those lines? Is that still serving you? Is that protecting you from something, or is that actually preventing you from making the right connections with the right people moving forward? And also for the new moon, this new moon is happening in your 3rd house. And so this is a great time to seed intentions for learning a new skill, especially if it has to do with something very physical and tangible. So learning a new skill in terms of gardening, cooking, creating something beautiful, creating artwork, going out and spending more time in nature, doing something physical with the body, especially if it's, taking a short distance trip for a hike or something like that. Now is a time to seed intentions as it relates to communication on all levels, marketing plans if you have your own business. Now's a time where you can seed intentions to purchase a new vehicle because it's the 3rd house of short distance travel. To change your commute in some sort of way, to speak your mind more and to say what you want to say when you want to say it instead of holding it in. And now is a time where you can seed intentions to have a really important conversation with somebody or that you've been wanting to speak to about something for quite some time. And this is a great time, again, for new ideas, for new beginnings as it relates to your mind and your mental activity. So starting something new in terms of like learning a new skill set, that's going to be a really great way to utilize this energy. All right. And so that is my forecast for all 12 signs, you guys. And that's not it. How do I do this? There we go. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this forecast, please subscribe to my channel, click that little red button. And if you want to book a personal reading with me, you can always do that. The link is in the description down below. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.